This is Robert with Pioneer Smokehouses, and today we're going to make some burnt ends. We're not doing regular burnt ends though, because that's a lot of work. What we're going to do is we're going to take some chuck roast and we're going to prepare it the same way that we would brisket, and we're going to end up cutting it into burnt ends and it will turn out great. My new favorite meat is the chuck roast, and it just takes the smoke so well. It's real beefy, good flavor, and then after you break it down, the connective tissue, which runs a little irregular in chuck, just turns out great. Same principle as the brisket, and a lot of that really good flavor like brisket has, but it's a lot smaller, easier to eat. I took a chuck roast and I cut it in half, and then I seasoned it. And if you look at this picture here, you're gonna see that I put in some of my 321 and some Cosmo cow cover, and then I kind of smelled it a little bit and I thought that it needed just a touch more garlic. So I went ahead and hit it some garlic granules. I tried not to overdo it with the 321 because there's salt in both products and I didn't want to kill the salt, and I'm kind of salt sensitive. But you can see that I've got it covered really well, and that picture there shows the same thing. But I went ahead and put it on one of the small grill mats. It's one I have cut for the Little Chief smoker, but it works really good for a small roast or for a couple of hamburgers or whatever you'd like to do with it. Today we're using the Masterbuilt 40-inch charcoal digital vertical smoker. That's a mouthful, but it's the same one that we've been using on the last few cooks. We're trying to go through it and try a bunch of different things. First, I'm going to go ahead and toss this in there. And you can see smoke's coming out, that's good. I have the deflector turned down for the low heat setting. I have a piece of tin foil in here, and I'm just gonna slide this right on in. Try to get it to the center as much as possible, and then we'll just close the door and let it do its thing. So we're gonna show you a couple of pictures here of the charcoal basket. So the first one is of me loading the charcoal basket. And you could see that I laid in a couple of pieces in there sideways, and then I filled the rest just across the top randomly, leaving an empty space all the way to the starting side, which is where you put the tumbleweeds. But I kind of got away from using the tumbleweeds. You know, if I really want a low headache and I'm not in a hurry, which is not usually when I'm filming, I will just go ahead and throw the tumbleweeds in there and just come back to it later. But what I normally do is I normally use the charcoal chimney, and anywhere between about 10 and 12 pieces of charcoal. I lit it up and it looked like it needed a little bit more, so I threw a couple on the top. So then I took that chimney and I dumped it into the charcoal tray here. So you can see that there's a couple of pieces on the top that don't look like they're burning. Well, that's because after I dumped them in there, I went ahead and slid a couple more pieces over to get right up on top of that so it was nice and covered and even. And then I'll show you a little clip video here. After I slid it into the lower box down here, I went ahead and turned it on. Now, if you close the clips on the side of the door, then it will kick in the safety mechanism so that way the thing will run, and then you can run it with, you know, if you want to get the air and you want to see how well it's burning or whatever, then that's fine. Also, if you leave the top door open when you're trying to get the smoke to start flowing for like cold smoke or something like that, once you get the airflow going, then you close the top door and the smoke will continue flowing in its normal pattern. Then after that, we just slid the stuff in as soon as it came up to temperature. Now that took about 10 minutes with the charcoal basket, and it really, when we put that in there, it was just barely up to temperature. If it takes too long to get up to temperature, it will kick off. And in that case, all you have to do is tap the temperature button again, and then it'll remove the error code and start preheating again. But that only happens when you use the haystack lighters and not when you use the chimney. But you can use the haystack lighters outside, get it going on the table or on the ground or wherever you have that's a safe spot to burn. Once it's going, slide it in just like as if you were adding the charcoal in there and sliding it in. Let's see if you can see there. Let me look at the camera. All right, I'm gonna go ahead. It looks like you can see the panel here. I'm gonna go ahead and open this. And I don't know if you can see in there, but it's nice and red hot in there and it looks good. What we're going for is about 3 hours to bring it up to about 165. And right now it's at 225, but I am going to raise that temperature after an hour up to 250. And then we'll raise it again up to 275 and wrap it in foil. We'll make it like a foil tube out of it. So we'll wrap the two pieces next to each other instead of side by side. But once we do that, we'll be able to just toss it on the rack as long as we double wrap the foil so it doesn't stick and tear. It's been about 3 hours and I've raised the temperature twice. The first time I raised the temperature to 250 at the 1 hour mark like we talked about before. Then I went ahead and raised the temperature to 275 about 10 minutes ago so that way the smoker would come up to the full temperature for the next step. Well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the table here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some foil. I thought about this and I decided that rather than wrap it in one long tube, that I was going to wrap it in two pieces. So what I'm going to do is take two pieces that's long enough to wrap each piece and then do them separately. The reason I decided to do that was because it'll be easier to handle that way. Now I'm gonna go ahead and grab the chuck roast out, and here it is right here. So I'm just gonna set it down here. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a couple of rolls on this. So first, let's roll it up once there. And then again. And then I'm gonna fold both corners. And then again, and then again. That's going to be a pretty tight package there. Show that one to you really quick. Set it down here where you can see it. Center it a little bit. Here, and here, and then fold, and then fold it over, and just like that. Now we've got these in here, and I'm just going to go ahead and slide them back in and close the door. So the smoker's internal temperature has dropped to about 205. It was at 275. And you can hear the fan kicking in, and it'll continue to drop just a little bit, and then it'll start to climb right back up again. I'm gonna go ahead and let it roll there. Like I said, we're shooting for the same kind of internal temperature that we would on a brisket, but it can be just a little lower because we're going to continue cooking it. So we don't need to come up. My target temperature is a 195 on brisket because I like it a little firmer than some people. But this one, we can be right in the 190 to even 185 range where we cut it, because we're going to continue cooking it after we dice it and sauce it. We'll be right back, and we are ready to go to the next step of this. So first thing I did is I got a shallow baking pan. Now normally you would need something a little bit larger than this for burn-ins, but because we're using the small chuck roast, it's going to just fit in there perfectly. I did spray a little bit of veggie oil around all the corners. It'll help to keep it from burning and sticking to the sides. And then I know a lot of you probably make barbecue sauce, or people have barbecue sauce recipes that they make, but I personally like to use my favorite store brand, and then I add to it depending on what I'm doing. And today what we did for burn-ins, I really like maple syrup in my barbecue sauce. And sometimes when I make homemade barbecue sauce, I use maple syrup as one of my components. But that's what we did today is I added maple syrup and a little bit of spices there, including a little bit of garlic because I still think it needed a little more. Let's go ahead and take this out. And I think what I'll do is I think I will go ahead and just grab this glove here. I'm gonna have to put my barbecue gloves over here, but these work just fine. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and turn the temperature up. 300 is as much as I can get out of it without turning the deflector over, so I might do that after I turn the camera off. So when I open this up, I want to capture as much of this juice as I can. So I'm going to open the end of this and dump the juice into the pan. And I don't know how much of that you can see, but we got a lot of juice in there. That is awesome. It is definitely hot and it is looking good. Well, look at that. Somebody forgot the knife. All right, I'll be right back. All right, I got the knife and I'm gonna just go ahead and cut this right down the center, and it looks like you're gonna be able to see this from the camera angle there. Oh, that's pretty good. So I'm gonna cut a small piece off here and just show you where we're at here, and I want you to see that it's not falling apart, but it's coming apart without much resistance, so you could eat that without a knife. This is the size of piece that I'm going for right here, and I do have kind of small hands, and this one's just a little large, so I'll go ahead and cut that one down the middle. There's a lot of fat in that, so maybe I'll just pull that out. And okay, and then I'm just going to go ahead and toss that into the pan. And then we'll do the same trick with this one. Gonna unroll it just a little bit and then undo the end. All right, and here she is. And that's the more symmetrical of the two pieces. So this one will be a little bit easier to cut, and it'll probably be more evenly cooked too. Doesn't really matter though. Before I do anything else, I'm going to go ahead and take a little picture of that and pop that up there for you. If I had a pan that was just a little smaller, I would probably go with that, but it's just my next size pan is a traditional like brownie pan, and that one's actually too small for what I want to do. I want to have a little bit of gaps here. So I'm going to go ahead and put all of this in there. And I think what I'll do is grab a couple of these pieces that don't have any sauce on them, and use them like a sponge. So I'll just run a couple of those pieces around there like that, and they'll get all sauced up. Now that we have that all done, then I'm just going to take it and I'm going to mix them in. What we're going for here is we want all the sides of the chuck roast to be evenly coated. And then I'm going to press it down flat so we don't have it sticking up. All right, and then let's do that again. Go like this. So you can go ahead and see that picture there. And I've got it coated just the way I want it. And while you're looking at that picture, I'm going to go ahead and throw these right back in here on the same shelf. There's two things about that shelf, is that the vent is directly above it and the thermometer is directly below it. I'm still not sure if I trust the thermometer completely because stuff comes out a little hotter than what I think that thermometer is reading. And it seems to be really stable though in temperature, but having it in that location gets the air to flow completely across it. So I think it gets it the best chance of having a really good smoky flavor without having a bitter smoke flavor. I do think I will add a few chunks of charcoal to this just to make sure that it stays hot enough. We'll be right back, probably 30 minutes. Check on it. I had to turn the camera just a little bit because the sun was getting right in it, but I think we're ready to take a look here and see how it's going. I did pop my head in there a minute ago. I didn't put my whole head in there. That would not be good. And they were looking really good. So let's take a look here. These foil pans are really weak, so I want to go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to show that to you right there. And look how yummy those look. And they've just caramelized up really nice. I'm going to go ahead and set that down. And I close that, and I'm going to leave that on high so that way it goes ahead and burns off. I'm actually going to go ahead and take it up a little bit higher in temperature. So I set it on the maximum, which is 400, so that way it'll burn through completely. But I want to go ahead and take a closer look here. So first thing I'm going to do is, well, I've got a nice little angle here, I'm going to go ahead and take a picture. So I'll go ahead and pop that picture up here for you, and then you can take a look at it while I'm getting myself a little snack here. Let me see if I can find one that looks sufficiently yummy here. So I'm going for a small one that's a little fatty. Well, that's perfect. Now, I might have mentioned to you that I don't like my meat mushy at the beginning of the video. And this is perfect for me. If you want it to be a little mushy, like really soft, then you'll want to cook it a little bit longer before you dice it up. But for me, this is perfect. It's tender. It's not like chewy or anything like that, so it's sufficiently broke down, but it's all caramelized and exactly what I'm going for. So I hope you enjoyed this, and you'll find links for the review on this in the description below, and underneath that you'll find links to a recipe, and below that you'll find affiliate links. So if you like anything that you saw on the video, you can use my link, and I'd appreciate it because I will be compensated. Number one thing that I use all the time is grill mats. If you're going to buy one thing in the world, buy yourself a grill mat. Those things will change your life. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.